Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some turbulence. Please keep your seatbelt fastened. Yeah, turbulence can be a bumpy ride, but it's totally normal. You might even find yourself bouncing around a bit. Don't worry, that's all part of the fun. Still, even if I say turbulence is not a big deal, it still costs U.S. airlines about $500 million every year. And then there are those people trying to play musical chairs with their flight seats, right? You paid for your spot, but suddenly someone wants to swap because they think their seat's cooler. Newsflash, one seat does not hold the secrets of the universe. But before you judge too quickly, let me introduce you to Alan Ruschel, a Brazilian soccer player who knows a thing or two about seat luck. Back in 2016, Alan survived a horrific plane crash that claimed the lives of most on board. He switched seats at the last minute because a teammate just had to have him beside him. He moved forward, closer to the middle, and when the plane went down, it might have just saved his life. When Alan woke up in the hospital, he was met with devastating news. He lost teammates and might never play again. The flight was supposed to take them from Bolivia to Colombia for a big match, but things went south when the pilot reportedly miscalculated fuel, leading to disaster in the mountains near Medellin. The plane broke apart upon impact, and out of 77 people, only 6 survived, including Alan and the goalkeeper, who had convinced him to switch seats in the first place. Alright, let's get real. Reading these stories before hopping on a flight isn't exactly a mood booster. But seriously, was it pure luck for Alan, or are there actually safer seats on a plane? First off, no matter where you plop down, flying is still one of the safest ways to travel. Studies show that the middle seats in the back third of the plane are statistically your best bet if things go sideways. A 2015 Time magazine analysis of 35 years of FAA data found that the back third had a fatality rate of just 32%. The middle third were slightly worse at 39%, and the front third were at 38%. The middle seats in the back sit pretty well with a 28% fatality rate. Meanwhile, those aisle seats in the middle were out there with a shocking 44%. But there's no universal rule for choosing the right seat. For instance, during the infamous United Airlines Flight 232 crash in 1989, most survivors were sitting closer to the front part, behind the first class and ahead of the wings. In the tragic Tenerife disaster of 1977, the lucky ones were mostly in the front too. If you want to dodge turbulence at all costs, aim for a seat closer to the middle of the plane. After all, turbulence is way more common than crashes, which are like unicorns, super rare. And if extra safety is your jam, consider snagging a seat near an exit row. FAA research says getting out within 90 seconds after a crash is crucial, and those seats near exits gives you a better shot at making it. You know, those extra legroom seats that can be extra expensive sometimes. But honestly, in the big picture, it doesn't really matter where you sit. Flying is super safe, and even if you find yourself in an emergency, your odds of survival are pretty darn good. 98.2% of passengers in aviation accidents from 2001 to 2017 walked away with minor or no injuries. Now, if picking the perfect seat isn't the most important thing, maybe you should think twice about which plane you hop on. The aviation game has leveled up with amazing tech and safety, but let's be real. Every now and then, things can go wrong. Like that recent Alaska Airlines flight that took off from Portland but quickly turned back after losing a door plug panel mid-air. Luckily, no one got hurt, but it raised some eyebrows about Boeing's quality control. Now, while Boeing's been in the hot seat with the 737 MAX 9, let's not write it off. It's still cool. Take the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, for example. It's not only sleek, it's also built with fancy materials for fuel efficiency and has a bag full of safety features. Manufacturers like Airbus are also doing great. Embraer, in turn, teams up with flight safety for pilot training, ensuring everyone's ready to take to the skies. So I tried to calm you down, but if you've watched this far, it's time to share some hardcore survival tips with you. Let's imagine the worst. You got into an actual plane crash. What should you do? Well, if you're sitting within 7 rows of an emergency exit, congratulations. Your odds of surviving an incident are actually better than your chances of getting into trouble. But if you're more than 7 rows away, well, first off, buckle up for sure. And when the crew shows you how to do it, give it a try yourself. Why? Because aircraft seats can be a bit different from what you're used to in your car. Keep that seatbelt snug, low and tight across your hips, like a belt that really gets you. If you can't think positively and want to prepare for the worst before you take that flight, then practice the brace position. Just take a minute to see how it feels. Bend your body and place your hands over your head. It may not be that comfortable, but the reason why you need exactly this position is simple. This way, you significantly lower your chances of breaking your neck. Sometimes, very rarely, in emergency situations, pilots tell the passengers to take this position. Now, counting the seat rows to the exit is the key. In case of smoke or extremely low visibility, you can feel your way out. Just count those seat backs like you're counting sheep, except this is for escaping. Never ever inflate your life vest inside the plane. If you do, you'll be at risk of floating like a very confused balloon while everyone else is trying to exit. So keep it deflated until you're out, but I hope you'll never need it. During an evacuation, sticking together is great, but if you get separated, focus on getting out first. Trying to find your friends while everyone's making a mad dash looks like rush hour on a one-way street. Lots of confusion and blocked paths. Anyways, the trickiest part is not surviving the crash itself, bracing your head, or even inflating the life vest. Getting down the slide is the last thing you should do, and it's the hardest. Before you hop on, check for any sharp objects, like shoe heels or things in your pockets, not to become the reason the slide deflates. To slide down perfectly, keep your legs together and jump down like you're going for a trampoline championship. Yep, even jumping down the slide isn't that easy, not to mention parachute jumps. And what about a non-parachute jump from the skies? Well, history knows someone who survived jumping 6.3 miles from the plane with no parachute on, and this person survived. It was Vesna Vulovic, a Serbian flight attendant. On January 25, 1972, the crew for JAT Flight 367 arrived in Denmark, where she was mistakenly assigned to the flight. Excited for her first trip to Denmark, she initially wanted to explore, but ended up shopping with her colleagues, who seemed unusually tense. The next day, Flight 367 left Copenhagen, but shortly after takeoff, the plane exploded, which caused it to break apart. Vesna was the sole survivor out of the 28 on board, found buried in the wreckage by a villager who kept her alive until help arrived. Investigators believe she survived because she had been trapped by a food trolley in a part of the fuselage, which had broken away from the rest of the aircraft, and thick snow and a favorable angle had cushioned her landing. She had serious injuries, including paralysis, so Vesna spent months recovering. She regained the ability to walk, but would always have a limp. When she recovered, she expressed the desire to go back to her flight attendant job. But the air company she worked for assigned her to office work, fearing media attention. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.